Hi everyone, I'm Kurt Lanzone and I'm here today to bring you an Indiana prepared clip. We're talking about fire safety and extinguishers and what they can be used for and what they can't be used for on the farm and around the house. Anytime we talk about an unwanted fire, we talk about the fire triangle because that's what enables it to burn. The fire triangle is made of three things: fuel, air, and heat. It's got to have those three things in order to combust. Now that we can get into depth about different things that make up the fire tetrahedron and other things of that nature, but the biggest key is those three things in that fire triangle. When we have an extinguisher, we're trying to take out one side of that triangle. That way the fire goes out, whether it be we're trying to eliminate the fuel or trying to eliminate the heat or trying to eliminate the oxygen. Each extinguisher has its own purpose to remove one of those legs of that triangle to put it out. There's basically 5 different classifications of fires: Class A's, Class B's, Class C's, Class D's, and Class K's. Each one of those fires might be involved with another class altogether. And that's why we have fire extinguishers that are classified for multiple types or multiple classes of fires. Class A fires, we talk about those, are the normal wood combustible and paper products. We talk about Class B fires. Those are petroleum or fluid-based products that are burning. Class C fire is an electrical fueled fire, which means that it's something that is an electric ignition source that has gotten hot and the insulation or things around the electricity itself have gotten hot and started to combust. When we talk about Class D fires, those fires are the metals, which would be our sodiums and other metals that can burn when they get to a heat source. Class K fires are those fryers, turkey fryers, things of that nature that we experience around our houses, and those require a special extinguisher to help put those out. That special extinguisher, a type K extinguisher, uses saponification to put that out where it actually converts the oil into a salt and soap. That way it's no longer burnable. Many people don't have extinguishers in their own homes, and it's important to make sure we get the right size extinguisher. When we look at sizing an extinguisher, it can be identified right here on the label. This is a 3A or a 40 BC. 3A stands for how much fire that it can put out in its water sense. And we know that it is 1 1/4 times the actual rating for the amount of water that can be placed, or the equivalent of water, on a fire. The next rating that we see is a 40 BC. 40 stands for 40 square feet of liquid flat on the ground that it could put out if it was burning. So when we think in terms of that, it would be a 4x10 area that would be completely on fire with a petroleum product. The C we don't give a rating to because carbon dioxide extinguishers and used in electrical fires are hard to judge in size. When we talk about spacing and location of extinguishers, it's important to have them in the right places when we need them. It's nothing worse than trying to look for an extinguisher when you have a fire and not knowing where it's at. When we look at some of the standards that are given by NFPA, we have a guideline of placing our extinguishers in our different buildings. We look at smaller extinguishers like this that are portable, extremely portable. They can be used in equipment, different places in the house where maybe it's not easily accessible. This is, 2.5 pounder, we can put on 2nd and 3rd floors of houses, things of that nature. We move up to 5 pounders, those are more common. Have those on dedicated floors in the house, in the basement. Different storage areas, we move up to 10-pound extinguishers. We want to make sure basically any point in time in the house that we have those accessible on that floor level. We also want to make sure we have one in the kitchen itself. When we talk about pole barns or shops on the farm, garages, we want to make sure that we have, a 10-pound extinguisher within 50 feet of us at all times as a minimum. When we talk about offices, we want to have a 5-pounder every 75 feet placed throughout the office. That way they're easily accessible when we do have an emergency occur. Inspecting our extinguishers, we have inspection procedures that those need to be completed. Every month you should be inspecting your extinguisher and checking it off and initialing the date on the tag provided by the servicer. And when we look at those, one thing we want to do is we want to make sure we take it out of its holder, inspect the pin, make sure the keeper is on it, the tag is on it, make sure our inspection tag is on it from the company that services it. And then they should take care of it, but it's also a good idea to look at the manufacture date, because dry chem extinguishers are only going to have a 12-year service life if they're a non-rechargeable one, or if they are a rechargeable one, they need to be serviced every 6 years hydrostatically and taken out of service and refilled with the dry chem. Now the chemical inside them does not go bad, but it needs to be pulled out, hydrostatically tested, and reserviced and put back in service with a ring tag that tells you when that was done. If we have an extinguisher that's hanging on the wall that we pull off, it'll have this tamper-proof tag on it. If we know this tamper-proof tag's here, we assume that it is full and ready to be used at any time. When they don't have the tag on them, like in this one, it is gone. We know that this unit needs recharged and put back in service. One of the nice things about some of our Class A extinguishers like this water extinguisher here is the fact that we can recharge it ourselves at our shop, our garage, or on the farm. It's a real common extinguisher to have for those Class A fires where we have chaff burning off the combine, field material, wood products, paper products, things of that nature. And it's simple as making sure it's discharged all the way to where there's no pressure on it. We loosen the collar, pull the stem out itself, and we've got this little sleeve that slides down in here. We make sure that's put back in because that's the water line that we're going to fill back to. Once we get up to that collar level, we can insert our stem back in, tighten down our ring. On the back side, we have a valve stem, just like on a car tire. We can unscrew it. Of course, make sure that collar's tight. It's got a rubber O-ring in there. We can see here on the front, it has marked 100 pounds of pressure that we're going to put in it. So we can, just like we're filling a tire. And you'll hear the air go in there. You can watch your gauge on your air compressor, and you can also watch your gauge here on the fill. Once we get it up into the green, we can stop filling. Make sure it stabilizes and stays full to make sure we don't have no air leaks or anything, because it won't do us any good if we have any air leaks. Once we refill that, we can reinsert our pin, make sure our tamper tag is in place, and the unit's ready to go back in service. One thing I want to point out, you don't want to use a zip tie like this person's used, because those are hard to take off if you're in a hurry and would require a knife or some kind of pair of pliers or something to pull that pin in if it was being used. So it's important to just source those tags if you're going to have a refillable extinguisher. One of the most important things that we can do when we're going to take care of a fire that we have pop up is select the appropriate extinguisher. Type A extinguishers can be used on normal combustible products, wood products, paper products, things of that nature. So these Class A extinguishers that are refillable make an excellent tool to go and put those fires out. We need to always make sure they're charged and in service all the time, because when an emergency happens, we don't have time to look and make sure. And then we can use that simple phrase, pass, when we go to it. Pull the pin, aim, squeeze, and sweep. One thing that people don't do appropriately when they're doing that sweep part is aim at the base of the fire. They try and aim up here at the top of the fire where it's at and don't effectively put the fire out. We need to aim at the base because we're trying to have a cooling action on that fuel to take that part out of the fire triangle. Many times we have combustible fuels that catch on fire. we need to make sure we select the appropriate extinguisher for that too. And we know that a dry chem extinguisher is perfect for that kind of fire. We can take a dry chem extinguisher and put out nearly any type of fire that occurs on the farm or around the house. We just pull the pin, aim, squeeze, and sweep at the base of the fire. We want to make sure we do it at the base of the fire because we want to make a coating over that liquid. That way it extinguishes and keeps the oxygen from hitting the fire. Anytime we talk about using products on the farm, around the home, there's the chance that those products can be spilled unintentionally. When we have those unintentional spills, we need to have things around that we can use to absorb those and dispose of those properly. Some of those things can be as simple as a bag of oil dry or big absorbent pads like this. These are perfect for taking care of those little oil spills that you have in the shop, or let's say you're working on something with the fuel tank on your semi or your tractor or your lawnmower. We can use these same items to help absorb those and then dispose of those properly. When we start talking about larger spills that can occur around our homes and around our shops and around our farms, those spills can sometimes be what we call a reportable incident. When we talk about hazardous substances, we get certain quantities of those that we spill, and we have to report those. In general, it's a 55-gallon requirement to report. Now, if we have something that's reportable and we don't know exactly what to do, one of the best things that we can do in the state of Indiana is call 911. Our fire departments are trained and carry equipment to help mitigate spills that occur no matter where they're at. One of the biggest things that we want to do is prevent that spill from entering the watershed. When we prevent those spills from entering the watershed, we keep everybody protected downstream. The fire departments are trained and are required to be trained by Indiana code to the hazmat operations level. So they will be there to help start mitigating your spill if it does get out of hand. Thanks for watching this prep clip. You can learn more at indianaprepared.org or on our YouTube channel.